Watch your ass! You will not laugh. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers. I will teach you. Now get up!
Good evening, friends. It's Friday, which means it's time once again for another insightful episode of Hobbservations on Roads to Liberty. That's Roads, the number 2, liberty.com for all of your freedom swag needs. Go ahead, go over, buy a t-shirt, a mug, something else. Give us your shekels, because then maybe I can get Twitter verification and the cool people that I message will get my messages in a timely fashion. Who knows? It's very timely because tonight I have good news, everyone. Harrison Smith finally reacted to my conversation on Twitter, and we have him tonight. Harrison, how are you, sir?
Good evening, sir. Doing quite well. That was a good Farnsworth, man. I'm impressed.
It's one of my better ones, but I do an awful lot of voices.
I was gonna say, can you do his other ones? Because it's that one guy does all of them, right? So I figured you can do one.
It's Billy West. I can do everyone but Fry. Yeah. I can do everyone but Fry because Fry has a normal voice.
Yeah, it's just his voice.
Yeah.
No, dude. Thanks for having me on. I'm very, very happy to be here.
I am very happy to have you. It's been a long time coming. You know, I've just got my 1 year on Twitter anniversary about 3 or 4 days ago, and I'm just like, wow, I got this a year ago. I hardly ever use it. And I only got it so I could send Harrison a message. and then 3 or 4 days later,
took a year.
Yeah, it only took a year. I know it's because I don't have the blue check mark. And
no, that's definitely not it. And you don't want the blue check mark anymore. You got to give your identity over to some Israeli intelligence agency if you want a blue check mark now.
Well, if I told you some of my other history, my personal identification information is the least of my concerns for being out there on the internet. Not like they don't already have it.
He's anyways. A D-list celebrity, Harrison. It's a secret, though.
I am not a D-list celebrity, and it is definitely not a secret either.
All right, somebody's lying. That's all I know.
I did a reality TV show like 8 or 9 years ago.
Oh, nice. Which one?
Yeah, Naked and Afraid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't go looking for the episode because they make me look like a giant piece of shit, and it was rather embarrassing.
Yeah, I know how that stuff goes, man. It's all in the editing. You can make it look like anything.
It is. You take 21 solid days of 24/7 footage and compress it down to 44 minutes. You can make anybody look like anything.
Yeah, for real. 21 days, huh?
Yeah.
You were naked and afraid?
I was naked and covered in bug bites. And very, very bored. No afraid.
That's a less interesting title, I have to be honest.
It's a little bit more of a mouthful.
In bug bites and bored. The new hot show.
Yeah. It's not doesn't quite roll off the tongue the way the current one does, but yeah. That's so my naked ass is out there in the ether on millions of television sets. So some Israeli guy has my bank account number. It's like, oh boy, looky here. He's got, oh shit, nothing. Well, this guy's whatever.
So they can't blackmail you because it's already public. It was part of a syndicated television program.
Exactly. You got to get out ahead of these things.
Right. Yeah. Way out ahead.
Yeah. If you embarrass yourself ahead of time, then nobody can come and embarrass you to get what they want.
True.
It's actually worse if you know him, because I just happened to have Hulu pop up one time and it plays whatever channel was on and is on at that moment, and popped up. There's Hobbs Ass awesome. right in front of me on Hulu. I was like, oh, great.
That's amazing. It's like they know. I wonder if they know. I wonder if that's part of the algorithm. They know who you're connected to.
Probably. It wouldn't surprise me the way everything's connected these days. So I didn't really have much of a plan for what we talk about. I mean, we're already kind of rapping right now, and it's kind of a flow of consciousness. I mean, there's no shortage of news, that's for certain.
Nah, dude, slow news month.
I know. To kind of put things into perspective for anybody who may be watching this and has been living under a rock, the head of state for a near nuclear power and a rival of the United States was killed in a helicopter crash, and nobody is talking about it anymore.
Let's be perfectly clear. Flew a helicopter into a storm and the helicopter then disintegrated is how he died. It disappeared. It became ash along with everybody inside. And that's fine and normal. And what else is new?
Right, yeah, because those sorts of things just happen all of the time, right?
Yeah,
You know,
moving
poor maintenance is responsible for the complete
yeah,
disintegration of an aircraft.
it happens, man.
There have been stranger things, I'm sure. But yeah, so that's how jam-packed the news is these days. That is back burner news compared to
That
what's going on.
honestly, that lasted like a day. It
Yeah.
was like one day of like, oh, the Iranian president died in a helicopter crash. There are no remains whatsoever. Moving on. Next story, please. It's like, what the
Have you
fuck?
seen this cat video?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Insane, man. Insane. And then this whole thing with Trump, there's that thing happening. There's COVID. Dude, it's too much. It's crisis upon crisis. It's a crisis of crisis. The poly crisis is happening. It's happening.
Polycrisis
It's a poly crisis.
They will hit the world with many polycrisis.
Wait, so Fridays you do like a weekly wrap-up show, right?
No, Thursdays we do what we call This Week in Clown World, where we do like
That's right.
news, current events, and we usually have Simon on for the last 30 minutes of the show, and then he kind of takes over and fills us in on all of the obscure shit that only he seems able to find on the internet. And
does Simon things, yes.
Yeah, does Simon things, exactly, and we love him for it. But my Friday show is like my show, and normally what I do is I talk to interesting people, typically people in the firearms industry, ammunition industry, tactical gear industry, because that's sort of my hyper focus of my particular brand of autism. And but it's my show, and I'll do what I want. And talking about
Nice.
current events and news and pop culture, I think I might branch off into some pop culture things, because if we fight and win the info war, the shooting war doesn't need to take place. And as much as I
Right.
like pulling triggers, that is something that I don't want to see happen, especially since I have little
Yeah.
kids that you can probably hear running around making noise.
Oh, I was wondering. I didn't know if that was from the thing or we got storms here. I was just thinking there was thunder coming in. That may have been your kids running around. Yeah,
Toddler
dude.
thunder.
I wish I could talk more about pop culture, because it feels like it's not important enough to crowd out like geopolitical World War III stuff. But I totally agree. I feel like we're missing the biggest opportunity ever with pop culture, where it's just like everything fucking sucks. So people are going through the apocalypse and they don't even have good entertainment. Like, you would think at least the entertainment would be good. You'd think at least the bread and circuses would be satisfactory, but they fucking suck. And so I'm sorry, can I curse on this show? I should ask.
I don't fucking care.
All right, cool. Yeah, so the stuff like the Daily Wire is doing is just not appealing to anybody except for their subscribers. I feel like this is such a good opportunity to fund just some really good movies that have good messages that people just want to see. And
Yeah.
the technology is all it's free now. All the technology to do that is free. It's insane.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because and I'm glad you kind of brought up the Daily Wire, because they're trying, but they're trying too hard. And
Yeah.
that I think is the biggest crutch, or not the crutch, but the biggest handicap of right-wing popular media. The right wing is typically very good with your typical facts and logic, right? Yeah.
Right.
But when it comes to escapism and entertainment, the right wing falls woefully short, because it's almost like you need to have a certain degree of subterfuge involved in storytelling, because when you're dealing with like fantasy or science fiction, or you're telling a story, you
Mhm.
are you are lying to your audience. These things never happened, but you have to suspend your disbelief in order to, immerse yourself in the story. And a lot of times when right-wingers try to engage in this sort of space, it comes off more as a moral lecture than it does as storytelling. And I think that's where we kind of fall short on that.
I think you're right, but it's hard to say, because I think you're right in the sense that, like, obviously, like, the trying too hard thing is exactly right. They try way too hard. They make these like overt movies that are clearly designed from the ground up to appeal to people that are already right wing. That's not how the left wing got cultural dominance. They got it by making really good movies that had subversive messages in them. Ironically, the best movies of all time almost entirely have extremely conservative messages, like Lord of the Rings. Like the Lord of the Rings movies, there's nothing subversive about their messaging. Their messaging is all about honor and duty and, friendship. And it's just the best of everything, right? And it's clearly extremely right-wing, like, according to Tolkien, it was like, and everything is, right? Harry Potter is the same way. J.K. Rowling, before the 7th book was out, was like, if you have read the Bible, what happens with Harry. Like, all these things. Star Wars, same thing, right? The rebellion against this faceless evil empire, the Force being like the Holy Spirit. I mean, so, the whole idea that conservatives can't produce popular culture or make art is absurd, because literally all of the best stuff is at its heart extremely conservative. But we've also been like primed to not expect that. So I don't know. I think the best thing to do, I was just thinking about this the other day, because I want to do it for Texas history, but it wouldn't have as wide of appeal, obviously. But my dream, and I just want to do it through AI. I just am waiting for AI to get to the sophistication where I can just make a television series, animate a television series about the founding of Texas. That's like Game of Thrones, where you're following all the different characters for a little while. So you're like following Stephen F. Austin for a little bit, but then you're following like Davy Crockett while he's like, fighting Indians, and Sam Houston, meanwhile, is living with the Indians. And then like, Santa Anna, the bad guy, is involved in insane crap, something like that. But for the founding fathers, it's like, you don't even have to write anything. You don't have to make it about abortion. You don't have to make it the entire thing a parody about, trans people playing sports. Just make a badass perfectly historically accurate series of the founding fathers. Like, don't even make it dramatic. Just find their diaries and make timelines and just go, okay, on this day, what was George Washington doing? It was probably something epic and awesome that would make a great film scene and would teach you the lessons of what they were going through, and like let you see the world through their eyes. That's what we need, is just like reminding people how epic the founding fathers were, and make them feel that. Make them feel the feelings of the fucking people in Valley Forge. That'd be popular, I think.
So what I'm getting from this is that you did not enjoy Lady Ballers.
I didn't even see it. Like, it's not something I'd watch, like,
yeah,
I'm not interested in that. I don't know.
I didn't watch it either, because it looked too much, too hard. Trying too hard. Yeah, and like, this is going to make boomers laugh, and that's about it, right?
It like should have been a skit on a skit show, because it is a funny premise. But I just can't see them. It's like it almost is a better premise for like Seth Rogen to do. Like, it almost would have been actually a funny idea if it had been like a bunch of liberals making it. But it's the idea. It's like, it's too preachy. It's the idea of Daily Wire making it. It's like, really, it's going to be a bunch of jokes I've heard before, but acted out with a lot of production behind it.
Yeah, like a 2-hour feature length video is a little bit much for that premise. Like you said, a skit show would have been good. A half hour to 45-minute television show episode of like a vignette series or something would have been okay. But like a full length feature movie, I feel like it would have gotten very tired very quickly. But kind of circling back to what you were talking about with, like all of the best stories are conservative or right wing in nature. A lot of times, the premise of the story is it's touted as being left wing or subversive, but it ends up being conservative at its root. You know how many conservative teardowns, dissections. I mean, the movie Barbie has been dissected more than a frog in a high school.
Yeah.
And the message comes out as, hey, did you know that this actually is about conservative values and the failures of feminism? And again, Barbie's a movie that I myself have not watched, but I don't feel that I have to because I've seen it dissected so many times. I think I got it.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies that are like that for me. And but movies like that, I feel like I'd have to see it myself because half the people are saying one thing and half the people are saying the other. And I don't know, man. I was just thinking about Oppenheimer because I just watched Oppenheimer on a plane, and I didn't know what to make of it. And I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. Everything's so heavy-handed. I just want to see some good. I just think we need to. Here's what I would do. If we could come up with like 100 movie ideas right now. They're so simple, so obvious. How about an American James Bond? What about that? What about just doing that and just making it really obvious? Just making a really good movie of a suave ass American dude kicking ass and crashing cars. I mean, obviously there's like, Jason Bourne stuff, but everything's Hollywood. It all sucks. Why not just make a cool movie that people would want to see? Because I don't even like watch movies anymore, to be honest with you. I think they all suck.
Yeah, you're right. You can go back to some classics that would probably never get made today, like Blazing Saddles, one of the greatest
Yeah.
Mel Brooks movies of all time. Actually, just about anything by Mel Brooks is absolutely phenomenal, except I recently saw his History of the World Part 2 that came out very recently. That was sort of the in joke when History of the World Part 1 came out, like back in the late 70s. I remember
There was never
watching
a
that.
part 2.
Yeah, there was never a part 2. And I remember being like, 8, 9 years old. I'm like, where is part 2? Where is part 2? I need to see part 2. That was the joke. There was no part 2 until like.
But then he made one?
Yeah, they made one.
Nice.
I think sometime last year, and I watched it, and it was funny, but it wasn't 70s, 80s Mel Brooks funny.
Yeah.
There was quite a few parts where I was like, some younger generation of comic inserted some woke shit into this, and there was way too many Jew jokes.
Oh, really?
Like Mel Brooks, he always put some Jew jokes into his movies because he was a Jew, right? But this one was just laid it on way too thick.
Oh, no, wait. What do you mean Jew jokes? You mean jokes about Jews, or do you mean jokes of a Jewish nature?
Yes.
Okay. Too much of both.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There was okay. So, have you ever seen History of the World Part 1?
I don't think so.
Okay. So like after, right before the credits roll in History of the World Part 1, it's like, on the next episode of History of the World, and then it's got like little short like teasers of stuff that obviously never came to pass. And one of them was Hitler on ice, and it was Hitler figure skating, right? And fucking hilarious when it's just like a tiny little snippet of Adolf Hitler doing like triple axels and skating around. Fucking hilarious. Fast forward to History of the World Part 2, Hitler on ice, they did it for real. Skating around, falls down, does a bunch of other shit. People hold up scores of like 0.1. Everybody in the crowd is booing and everything and throwing tomatoes and shit on the ice. And the 3 judges are like, see that Hitler fell on his ass. He's a total piece of shit. And it's like, yes, we know that Hitler was a piece of shit. calling him a piece of shit is so stunning and brave. It's not funny, right?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of ironic. Sounds like he didn't get a fair deal. I mean, how good was he at figure skating?
Well, I have it on good authority that it was his second passion past painting. So I don't know.
Damn, that would
Yeah,
be. I mean, to be honest, that is a very hilarious idea that Hitler secretly figured, like, while he's like planning the fucking, the Blitz, he's like, I have to think, and then everybody leaves. He straps on his ice skates.
Yeah, and goes and does some figure skating. Yeah, but like it was the mystery of it, and like the 50-year gap.
Yeah,
between that made it funny.
Yes. Yeah, that it was quick and funny and lighthearted and whatever, to like beating you over the head with like, let's humiliate Hitler, and it's not even that funny.
Yeah, stunning and brave. Hitler was a bad person. Shock.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, no shit. So anyways, yeah, pop culture sucks. And
it does, man.
Yeah, so you mentioned Star Wars. Of course, Star Wars has fallen under the umbrella of Disney, and I don't know how much you keep abreast of what's going on with Disney, but Bob Iger,
I'm on top of all of it.
Well,
I watch a lot of YouTube channels about the internal workings of Disney.
Oh, so are you a member of the Doomcock Army?
I visit the cave occasionally.
Oh, yes. So center of the earth, Xanadoom. Yes. So
yeah. A lot of those guys have been watching for years, but I don't really know anything recently though. I just tune in every once in a while to like find out details of the downfall. Just get my fill of what the latest like aspect of the avalanche is.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So recently there was a sort of a proxy battle as far as the board was going. A guy named Nelson Peltz, who runs a company called Trian Financing. He had like 34 million shares, or maybe it's like $34 million worth of shares. It's some ungodly amount of shares, right? And he teamed up with a guy named Ike Perlmutter, who has a similar number of shares, in order to try and force a hostile takeover of the Disney board, because Nelson Peltz is all about making money for his investors, as a good capitalist is supposed to do.
Right.
And Ike Perlmutter was the former CEO, I believe, of Marvel Studios at one time. And so he's seeing Marvel getting run into the ground. And so he also, being a good capitalist, was like, we got to turn this ship around, right? Well, the board voted against them, and put Bob Iger back in charge, and refused to allow Nelson Peltz to have the 2 seats on the board that he wanted.
Okay.
And just a few days ago, Ike Perlmutter said, "You know what, Disney, you're a sinking ship, and I'm a rat. I'm going to get off." And he dumped all of it. All of his Disney stock. Gone.
So you're saying we can snap that up and save this thing? It's up to us. We could save Disney. No, that's pretty wild. So the board was just that obstinate that he was just like, yeah, fuck this. It's like the most valuable stock in history. And he's just like, it's not worth it. These people are fucking social justice warriors. I can't handle it.
Right.
That's wild. Wow.
Yeah, it is wild that, a guy with this much stock, he sold it. He ended up making something like $1 billion off of it. So it must have been 34 million individual shares. He sold all of it at $1 billion profit. Right. Even with Disney stock being on the downward trend as it is right now, he still ended up making $1 billion.
Right, because Disney's one of those. I mean, it's like an industry stock. It's, you buy like Apple and Disney and just like, they'll be fine. But dude, yeah, man, it is shocking, the incompetence at Disney. It like really is. I mean,
it's not incompetence. It's on purpose. Remember, Harrison, I called in about a month ago and I let you know about Hobbs's razor. No one is this wrong this consistently unless it's on purpose.
You know, it's it's like you're saying about capitalism. It's like they legitimately think it's more important to turn kids gay than make money. Like I don't think they're making things purposefully bad. I think that I think that they sincerely believed, like, man, if I just had if us Indian women had our own version of Scooby Doo, it would be so much better. Like, they think that they're funny. They think that this bizarre worldview they have that is the complete inversion of reality is correct, and they make things expecting everybody to go along with it, and everyone around them is in this communistic circle jerk where they applaud it and tell them it's great even when it's terrible. And so they live in this delusional state where just like money doesn't matter, returns don't matter, so they keep getting jobs. So they think that they're doing well because they understand that imparting the message, yeah, is more important than anything else. Like I don't know if incompetence is necessarily the right word, but then you look at there's a YouTube girl, Jenny Nichols or something. You know her, Jenny Nicholson. She does movie reviews and stuff, and she did like a 4-hour long thing about the Galaxy Edge, whatever, $1 billion debacle of a hotel, and it was like, it was so bad. I mean,
yeah,
it was a level of incompetence that like it would have been like impressive if somebody had been able to fuck up that badly. Like, it was so bad that it's like, even if you were trying to make a bad experience, like, you wouldn't even think of doing this stuff. So, something's happening at Disney where they just have just the worst people in the world making decisions, just vile, weirdo scumbags deciding things.
There's I believe that there's two types of people making the decision here. You have the incompetent ones who did like the Galaxy's Edge Star Cruiser or whatever.
Star Cruiser, that's the one.
And then the other one that you have is the true believers in the message. What are you pulling up here, Ben? What is this? This is the executive leadership of Disney. Yeah.
Sorry, this image. I've only ever seen this image when it has 6-pointed stars on the faces. Are you sure this is the correct image to be looking at?
So this definitely does not pass the physiognomy check. But you have the incompetence and you have the true believers. The incompetents are just stupid, but the true believers, they know that what they're putting out is utter shite. Yeah. But they're pushing it because they're like, okay, Disney has more money than God. All we have to do is just ride this out until we are the only message that people are getting, and it will be the only message. As long as we can drown out any competition, buy out any competition, make it so that nobody can see anything. As long as there is not a foil, a black velvet sheet to put the diamond on to make it pop, that's the foil. Well, instead of a diamond, it's a lump of dog shit. But you get the idea, right? As long as we don't have a foil that other people can reference to show just how bad what we're putting out is, then we will be the only game in town, and people will slurp up our corporate goy slop and ask for seconds.
That is for sure. But
right,
man,
they just think that they have to ride the storm out. So I got a couple of comments over here. Sandwich Time says, oh boy, every good director knows that if you show a samurai sword on the wall in the first act, it needs to be used by the third act. Excited to see how this show ends.
Me too. I don't know.
You got some Chekhov's katana going on over here.
Yes.
And he says the money for churning out more content to spread the message never seems to stop. See Amazon's destruction of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time.
It's literally everything. It's so crazy how it's literally they've destroyed Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and fucking Indiana Jones. There's nothing that they have not just cannibalized like zombie monster. I mean, it's biblical. The reason it's so awesome is that these stories like Lord of the Rings are about an all-consuming empire of filth, destroying everything that is beautiful and good, and they take these beautiful and good stories about that. It's what Star Wars. The evil empire is Disney. The evil empire has now consumed its own story and is like, and somehow the outcome is like an embodiment of what the story represents. You know what I mean? Like the shit, the orcs, it's all filth and evil that pours out. It's amazing. I mean, we're literally living through, in a metaphysical, bizarre, like fractal sort of way, the manifested, the reality of the morals that these stories told. It's crazy. I love it.
Yeah, and that's why. Well, that's not why. It's one of the many, 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 many reasons why the Star Wars sequel trilogy failed to resonate with people. Because in the original trilogy, and even somewhat to a lesser extent, the prequel trilogy, the good guys on the screen were the underdogs, more or less.
Mhm.
You had, in the original trilogy, you had the Rebel Alliance fighting against the galaxy-spanning Empire, their ragtag group, against all odds, fighting against an evil status quo. In the prequel trilogy, it was a little bit more muddied. I think that there was actually, there's your boss has a very good video from like 7 or 8 years ago where he's breaking down the prequel trilogy, and it's
The
like,
prequels, yeah.
yeah, that's the story. We were too busy worried about this like angsty teenage love story when the political intrigue that
Right.
surrounds the prequel trilogy was a much more compelling story.
Dude,
But
my friend, just sorry to interrupt. My friend John, who I do Moonbase live with, convinced me long ago of the value of the prequel trilogy because he sees it through the lens of Orthodox Christianity, and he's like, dude, I think George Lucas is Orthodox because the Force is just the Holy Spirit. And then that whole story, it's like the Jedi are saints. It's like I don't know. So yeah, I'm down with the prequel love, but they are not good movies, to be honest with you. They're not.
They would have been good movies if the focus was shifted slightly to the story that was going on in the background. That's what makes the Clone Wars animated series so good, is because that's where the focus was at. But in the prequel trilogies, while the Jedi and the Galactic Republic were more or less the status quo, they were sort of portrayed as the underdog because the Confederacy of Independent Systems had just endless supplies of these droid soldiers that they could throw at them. So even then, the Jedi and the Galactic Republic were the underdogs. Flash forward to the sequel trilogy, and you've got the Resistance, which is just like a militant offshoot of the New Republic, and it's like
so retarded, dude.
It's like, you guys are the status quo.
It's so retarded.
The First Order is coming from out of deep space. They're the underdogs. This is not a story of underdogs triumphing over some grand evil. This is the story of and it's just
and this is the thing. It's like they're really good at sort of like creating moments where there's like victory and the music swells and people just don't know. There's like being hypnotized into thinking what they're seeing is like meaningful. But if you just like break down what the story is, the classic example, which of course if you watch Critical Drinker or any of these guys, they point this out all the time, is like there's no struggle. The girls are just amazing. They just have to believe in themselves. They always have the power within them. It's this weird perversion of what is actually compelling, which is the underdog story, which is impossible odds, but succeeding through perseverance. Like they deprive it of those things, but still expect it to have like value and impact, and it just doesn't. So it's like when you play a game. I played Baldur's Gate for probably a million hours in my life. I don't know if you ever played that game on the computer, starting in like 1998 or whenever it came out. And when I was like, you learn about cheats, and you can have anything you want, and you think it's going to be awesome because you're like, I can have that sword that I could never get because I can just type in the code. But then the game fucking sucks, right? So it's like they give people what they want, but then at the end of the day, it's just trash. They just take in, dude. Man, the worst part about it, honestly, the worst part about it is that they did it with the people. They did the sequel trilogy with the people from the original trilogy. So you can't just ignore this, right? You can't just say like, oh, well, we'll just pretend this doesn't exist because, it's not. It's like tangibly connected. And they blew like the best opportunity, which is exactly what you're describing, which is 30 years on. What is it like to now be the ruler, no longer be the ruler of the rebellion, but a ruler of a fractious democracy where you can't get anything done? That would be so interesting to see, like Leia being like, fuck, I wish I was an emperor right now because I can't get these people to agree on anything. And there's this big threat and nobody's paying attention to it. And like, dude, even the opportunity for storytelling there, and Han, like the fact that they reset everybody, that's like the most disappointing thing. Is it would have been so interesting to see Han like 20 years into like an admiralty career where he's just like sick of it and is like, doing things to distract himself. And you could still do the thing where it's their son turning bad and going off to some edge of the galaxy. And dude, the opportunity to like have, and they could even make it an obvious fucking parallel to Hitler if they want. I'll let them do it. The idea of using things like the Jedi mind tricks on crowds and like starting a political movement by like using the Force dark side shit is so fucking cool. I don't know. There's like so many opportunities for cool shit and just nothing.
You could show Watto running a bank or a media conglomerate.
see, everybody points to
show how Watto's
Watto.
People, they're pulling the strings behind the scenes.
No, it's not Watto. I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with the Clone Wars animated series.
I actually have never watched that.
Oh, brother, you need to, because it's not a kid show.
That's what
they say. Oh, it's a kid show. There are some seriously dark storylines, especially in the Lost Missions. There's a 5-episode arc about the intergalactic banking clan, which are everybody points to Watto as being the offensive Jewish stereotype.
Watto's the fall guy?
No. The Mune, the species that controls the intergalactic banking clan, are tall, skinny, giant-nosed, nasally voiced money changers. Ignore
what
Watto.
What are you getting at? I don't understand. They're aliens. They're just aliens. They're silly aliens. I love it.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know, Ben, maybe you can look up a Clone Wars animated series, Muune, and then pull up a picture.
It's like the Fingari or whatever they're called from
Ferengi from Star Trek.
Yeah, Ferengi. There you go. Yeah.
So I think Ben's pulling it up right. Well, that's there. That's the Mune. That's the intergalactic banking clans. Yeah,
I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, neither do I.
There's got to be one.
Yeah, there has to be. But
somebody's got to do the intergalactic banking.
Right. Yes. Hyperinflate the galactic credit and crash the whole thing down.
Intergalactic usury. It's a great business.
It really is. It really is. And like I said, there's like a 5-episode arc about how they are funding both sides of the war.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I said, it's something that will go about 10 feet over a kid's head. So, yeah, definitely not a kid show. I'm sitting there watching it. I'm like, 33 years old watching this 5-episode arc, and I'm just like, holy shit, it's the Rothschilds.
That's great. It'll implant that in their head. What is the age for watching that show? I got a 3-year-old, so I can watch it with him when it's time to introduce him to it.
My 3-year-old loves Star Wars, so just get him on it, and it's flashy action, pew pew pew. Kids love that shit.
Well, yeah, but there are certain things that I'm like, I don't want. I never remember a time where I didn't know that Darth Vader was Luke's dad. But if you can try to keep your kid away from that information and show it to him once he's old enough to understand what he's seeing, I feel like I don't want to deprive him of that experience. My wife, but she was my girlfriend at the time, when she was like, we were like 20 something, she'd never seen The Matrix, and she'd never even really heard what it was about. She knew what it was, like but to her it was just like some pop culture thing that she'd never seen and whatever. And if you watch next time you watch The Matrix, imagine you're back seeing it for the first time, because it is the wildest movie. When you know what it is, none of it's that wild, but like if you just start The Matrix, I mean, I'm saying literally nothing. All you know is like it's an action movie. It starts off with like office, he's in the office and like the agents just look like feds. You just think they're feds at first. And I don't know, there were like in the first 20 minutes, there were so many times where we're just like, what the fuck is going on? Like when she gets in the payphone booth and picks up the phone and the truck smashes into it, my wife's just like, what is happening? What is this? But if you know what it is, it's like, it loses a lot of that coolness. So I'm trying to strategically introduce my kids to things when they're old enough to understand it, and not, and actually have those impactful revelations. But I don't know. Maybe that's a waste of time. I tried showing him Avatar. He wasn't into it.
Avatar the anime, or Avatar the
anime.
Okay, so I haven't seen that.
Oh, you haven't seen that? That is a great show. That's an excellent show.
Not much of an anime guy myself.
There are a few incredibly good animes, but as like a genre, I think it's like 99.9% trash. But as a medium, it's got some artists. It's got some artists that can work in that medium. Yeah. Miyazaki, fucking best movies of all time in their anime. You ever seen a Miyazaki movie?
Probably. I've seen a few.
Porco Rosso.
No.
Princess Mononoke.
King of the Hill.
Parts of it.
King of the Hill. King of the Hill's an anime.
Yes, King of the Hill is the American anime.
Yeah, seriously.
Damn it, Dale.
Have you ever seen the guy that does the power ranking of
Yes.
Dale?
Yes. Yes, I have. Dale Gribble is over 9,000. He's definitely off the charts.
So good.
It's crazy what that guy's lived through. So, okay, so we've waxed nerdy on pop culture stuff for quite a bit here, and I'm just going to hard break right into the big news of the day, which is the death of the judicial system.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Yesterday. Yeah, R.I.P. American Republic. So I think I speak for a large segment of the American population. And how do I parse this? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good place there. That's what the fuck?
Yeah, and I've been thinking about this. I was sort of coming to the if you watch the show today, I was sort of coming to the revelation live that like I'm in a way glad that he was found guilty. It's a disappointing example of our system being fucked beyond repair, but that's what people needed, I guess. I hope people hold on to the energy that they were feeling today. I mean, you had everybody being like, this is a transgression of justice. This is a debacle and an abomination. And it's like, all right, tight. Now we get it. Now we understand where we're at. If he'd been found innocent, it would have been like, great. We would have laughed at him. But I don't think it would have gotten through to people. This charge was so flimsy. It was so nothing. It was such a bullshit process error. I mean, what a perfect thing to charge him with. What a perfect, like, I'm glad this was the one rather than the documents thing where it's like, national security. Like the other stuff that he's charged, he was election interfering. He tried to steal the election when Georgia. The other charges are like just as baseless, but at least more serious. This one, like, isn't even if it was all 100% true, it's bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, even if he paid Stormy Daniels and it was under the table, it's like it's literally nothing. So it's almost good that this is what he was convicted for, because it just shows how ridiculous all of it is.
Right. Yeah. So we all know that it's going to get overturned on appeal. And I just shared a picture with Ben. He's going to pull it up here. It might not get overturned in this appeals court.
Yeah.
But
because they're all women, right?
Yeah, they're all black women.
Wait, is that better or worse? Hold on.
Yeah, so it might not get overturned in that appeals court, but if it gets sent up to the Supreme Court, then it's definitely going to get overturned, unless the public pressure campaign to get Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito to recuse themselves over some bullshit actually pulls through.
Dude,
They're trying.
that's another one of those where it's just like, is this really happening? I mean,
Yeah.
it's the type of thing you can't really expect it. It comes out of nowhere. It's not the type of thing you can like plan for. But the leftists do this where they just come up with something and make it a scandal. They summon it out of thin air. There's no
Right.
scandal, there's no controversy, nobody is misbehaving, and they just find something, and suddenly everybody is like, well, that's a racist flag. Well, that flag is racist, and Samuel Alito's a racist. And now if he can't be trusted to adjudicate on January 6th because somebody else was waving that flag. I mean, and people take it seriously. And then they write articles going, he responds to demands to recuse himself. He was refusing. Jamie Raskin said the DOJ can force his recusal because he flew the flag. Sam Alito flew the flag. Jamie Raskin, representative of the United States of America, said the DOJ should just force his recusal and just cut him and Clarence Thomas out of the Supreme Court for this decision.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting to the point where it's like, if you have conservative beliefs, I talked about this with the jury where it was like, are you, can you be impartial? And the conservatives say no, and the liberals say yes. And it's kind of like both of them are telling the truth, even though the liberal is the one with the predetermined, position. They think they're being impartial.
Mm-hmm.
And it's essentially, if you have conservative beliefs or come to conservative conclusions on anything, you can therefore not be trusted on anything else. It's kind of hard to explain. I don't know if I explained that well, but
it's because,
you know what I mean?
It's because in the left-wing mind, well, left-wingers and right-wingers look at each other completely differently. And Dan Bongino says this in like every other episode of his shows, is that to a conservative, a left-winger is somebody who is wrong, whereas to a left-winger, a conservative is someone who is evil.
Yeah.
Conservatives are evil people with ideas, and left-wingers are people with bad ideas, or something like that.
Yeah. They do. They genuinely believe that. It's very weird. Like it's like pathological to them, where it's like everything has to be ulterior motives. And it's funny to say that because I'm like the conspiracy theorist guy, right? Like my whole thing is finding ulterior motives. But it's like, you don't need an ulterior motive to tell the truth. You don't need an ulterior motive to want to like make money or want to shut the border and control immigration. But to them, it's like the only way you can come to that conclusion is by already having preconceived racist notions that this is just an excuse to express. It's like that's how they see us. And it's like scary. It's like honestly scary because these people genuinely believe that the leftist liberal worldview and mindset is neutral. That's their position. And it's scary. It's scary because they're just like, yeah, we're unbiased. We believe everything liberal and leftist. That means we're unbiased and impartial, actually. It's which means they make everything insane.
Yeah, it is. And you're right. There always seems to be the, you want to close the border. It can't just be because there's a massive flood of God knows who coming across the border, and you don't know if they're carrying drugs, you don't know if they're carrying weapons, you don't know if they're carrying some type of a dirty nuclear bomb, you don't know if they're going to get on welfare or plop out a baby 1 week after being across the border and then suddenly have, birthright citizenship and an anchor to stay in the country. It's like, no, it's just because you hate brown people.
You just hate brown people. You just want them to die. You don't want to share all of your stuff with them because you're greedy and selfish. And this just happens to be something where you can express that, in particular drive of your, I mean, it is, the weird thing is, I mean, that is how they feel about a lot of stuff. They are that vindictive and hateful. So they project it on. I mean, they're like mad that conservatives found them out in a lot of ways, I think. And again, they say this. They're like, yeah, we want to flood white countries because F white people, your time is over. We're punishing you. And they all know it. Like, that is how they think. And so when white people are just like, wait, all this immigration is bad, they have to impose some malice on them. It's pure projection, man. And all this stuff is like so cliche at this point, but it's because it's so true. Like, the leftists, they always project, they always lie, they always double down. They're pathological, man. They really are dangerous.
Right. Yeah. And considering everything that's going on in the world right now, I was in the Army for 9 years, and I saw a lot of what is coming to be, fairly well known. A lot of the problems with the military that's being fairly well known today, I saw taking place in 2011 and 2012. I got out in early 2012,
right?
And I saw it kind of creeping up there. We would have what they called EO Sharp meetings every 3 months. EO Sharp stands for Equal Opportunity Sexual Harassment and Rape Prevention. Yeah. And it was basically our EO Sharp rep was this chubby black lady who would get up and browbeat all the white guys for how awful we were. And that's what it devolved
in the U.S. Army, dude.
Yeah.
In the U.S. Army. That's so wild.
Yeah, so I saw that taking place. I made her cry one day, right as I was getting, I was like 3 months away from separating, and I had just had enough of the bullshit, and I pushed back, and I made her cry. Got in a little bit of trouble. Well, she was up there. What was the scenario? So her scenario that she came up with was, let's say that you live in the barracks and you have a bikini model calendar on your wall in your barracks room, and a female NCO comes through for a barracks inspection and says that she is offended by that bikini model poster. Are you obligated to take it down and never put it back up? And of course, the answer that she wanted was yes. The answer that she got was a room full of laughter. Because if you're not fully indoctrinated into the bullshit, it's hilarious. If you're a soldier, it's doubly hilarious because we cope with the stresses of being the people whose job is to let the scum of the earth shoot at us with some of the darkest brand of humor on God's green earth. Well, she wasn't happy about the laugh, and she's like, the answer's yes, you need to take it down. And I'm like, why? It's their living space. And she pushed back on me on that. We kind of tussled back and forth, and finally I said, listen, this is the United States Army. If you are so offended by a two-dimensional photograph of a half-naked woman that you devolve into a quivering mass of jelly on the floor, this is not the job for you. And she said, every American citizen has a right to serve in the Army. And I said, bullshit. Every American citizen has a right to attempt to serve in the Army. And if you are not strong enough, physically or mentally, then you need to get gone.
Yeah.
Boy, she did not like that.
Tell her it's the situation she describes as a argument for why women should not be NCOs is what actually is the reality.
The 19th Amendment was a mistake. What? What was that? Yeah. Well, so yeah, that was probably my wake up call that separating from the Army was definitely the right choice.
Yeah, dude. All that is it's all just such bullshit. I honestly don't understand. I mean, I guess I do. I guess you just shut up and just endure it, right? Most people are just like, this is bullshit, but we just got to like sit here for 2 hours and check the boxes or whatever. I don't know, man. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to do that. Like I mean, before InfoWars, I just did freelance video stuff. But like when I have friends that work at corporations, talk about having to do that stuff. Like, dude, I will lose a job. I will lose a job so fast, just not letting somebody fucking talk shit about me without saying, like, I don't know, man. It is crazy. There's not at least one person in every one of those rooms just being like, this is bullshit. What is this?
Well, there usually was, we would always just like kind of like side eye each other and smirk and laugh and be like, get a load of this retard.
Yeah.
But it's I was going someplace with it, and I remember where I was going with this little segue. It's that with everything going on in the world right now, we have a recruitment problem in the military across all branches. I think even the Marine Corps now, for the first time in its history, has failed to reach its recruiting goals. And I find it funny and sad that for the last 15 to 20 years or so, we have every single node of our government institutions, our popular culture, our academia telling us that this country, because of its original sin of slavery, is somehow so irredeemably evil, and the people who built it are so irredeemably evil. We're the font of all the bad things that go on in the world. And oh, by the way, because of our government's shitty decisions, it's your duty to go fight and die for it, white man. It's like, no thanks.
Yeah, why would
I? I'm not going to fight and die for butt sex in Uganda. No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm but then part of me, like, I got family that's like by marriage, but so the family that my aunt married into is like a military family. Like there's a thing called the Society of Cincinnati or Society of Cincinnatus. But it's descendants of all of the officers of George Washington. So like the first members of this secret society were George Washington's officers. And since then you have to be a direct male descendant. So like,
how sexist. Patriarchy.
Yeah, right. They got to let it. That's the thing, man. Maybe secret societies need to come back. I've been joking about this, but the more I think about it, if we could get a movement where everybody who's a little bit right wing goes and just joins the first level of the Masons and just takes over lodges and just becomes a secret society, because then we can plan stuff, we can plot stuff. There's an established communication network, there's established real estate in every city, and if anybody says that this is what's going on, they look like crazy conspiracy theorists blaming the Freemasons on a big, they're going to try to take over the country. Yeah, right. But really, we infiltrated.
So basically due to the Freemasons what the Illuminati did to the Freemasons in 1776, only not gay.
Only make it based. Exactly. Based Illuminati, basically. Yes, you get it. I'm telling you. But sorry, I got off track. But the idea is that I hate that we're losing this, like, it's like generations, families, for 200 years have like dedicated themselves to this like incredibly honorable thing. And it's literally like becoming less meaningful. It's becoming like, you're stupid for doing that. That sucks, dude. Like that is really humiliating. Like, it's like that sucks, dude.
Yeah, over here in our comment section, Sandwich Time came back with, using Hobbs's razor, it's unlikely that the declining recruitment numbers are accidental. See the immigration policy. You're absolutely right. And this is something I actually called into your show one time. I think I actually talked to Chase about it, not you. But it's when you take a look at what they're doing to the army with all of the EO Sharp crap and the recruitment videos that are like, I grew up in San Francisco and I had 2 mommies and all of that, just like stupid shit. They're not. Yeah, you know the one I'm talking about.
Sucks so hard. It just everything sucks. Yeah.
It's not because they want those people in the military. Okay, that's not the goal. The goal is to make sure that people like me either get out or don't join in the first place.
Yeah. It's like the vaccine mandate. They don't want people who are based and think freely and aren't willing to go along with the bullshit. Absolutely. 100%.
Free thinkers, go on, get out.
Get out of here. This is America. There's no room for that.
No room for free thought around here. What are you, some kind of patriot?
And dude, I mean, it makes sense to a degree for an army. Like, obviously you got to brainwash your recruits to a certain level. That's like what boot camp's all about and everything.
Right.
But man, it sucks being brainwashed by people who hate you. That's like not good. That's just it sucks, dude. It really does.
Yeah, it does. And this kind of goes into something that another thing that I've called in to American Journal on a couple of occasions to try and spell out, but it's hard to do in a call-in show when you're down to like 2 minutes and whatnot. But it's the exact same thing. The goal is not to have people with schizophrenia in the FBI. Have you seen those ads on YouTube?
Yes, yeah, I have schizophrenia, and
like I have schizophrenia, and I joined the CIA or the FBI or whatever. Yeah. The goal is not to get those people. The goal is not to get transgenders in NASA or the daughters of a lesbian couple from San Francisco to be your frontline troopers in the Army. Those are not the goals. The goal is to destroy all of the faith that the people of the United States have in their institutions, because if you can make it seem that this failure, this inevitable failure of your institutions, of the representative republic system of government that we have, if you can make it seem like that is baked into the cake, that it will always happen no matter what, then you will dissuade people from trying it again. That is what tyrants of the past have failed to realize, and that is what we are witnessing happening in real time right now. The subversion and the destruction of the faith of the populace in our institutions to keep us from trying the American experiment again in the future, once the dust settles from whatever is coming next.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think you're exactly right. I think you're right. Yeah, I think that's clearly I mean, it's like the election in 2020. It's like a lot of people, but I predicted months before they're going to steal the election, and they're going to do it in an obvious way that pisses off the Trump supporters. Like, there's always a way to make your subversion obvious, or do something in a way that ruins people's faith in whatever that institution is. Like, they could have stolen the election in a much more convincing way. They did it in a blatant way, telling everybody that it was going to happen, and then just making it unavoidable to Trump supporters for seeing it to get the reaction they got. And then they got January 6th, which I think was always part of the plan.
Yeah, exactly. And right then, exact same thing. The goal was not President Joe Biden. The goal was to cheat, make it obvious enough to get a reaction, but not so obvious that you couldn't gaslight everybody into believing, oh yeah, they're just cranks, they're just seeing shadows where there are no shadows, and blah blah blah.
It's shockingly easy for them to set all of that up.
Right. So before we go any further here, we've got a couple of branches in the road that we can take. We're at an hour right now. Now, normally our shows last an hour, but I am having a lot of fun. But I am going to leave it up to you, sir. If you want to keep going, we can go as long as you want to. But if you want to cut it off here and come back some other time, we can do that.
No, too. I was planning on going till 10. 10 sounded like a reasonable distance to me.
Okay, then we'll keep it.
How's that sound? 17 more minutes.
17 more minutes. We can definitely do that. And if it goes further, okay. If it goes shorter, okay. Because I'm having a lot of fun here. Over here in the chat, though, our mutual friend Simon.
What's up, Simon?
He just got in the chat here, and he talked to us yesterday about the China Arab Summit that took place yesterday, and that is a very heady topic that I don't think I can really get into it at his depth in 17 minutes, but it goes into the very Byzantine and labyrinthian headways that China is making into places like Africa and the Middle East, setting up these diplomatic ties with their Belt and Road Initiative to scoop up resources and political influence in the heretofore neglected hotspots of the world, doing through diplomacy what the West has up until this point done with dick swinging militarism. And they're doing a better job of it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they're there's a reason that they aren't as incompetent as us. It has been decided that everything's moving over to China. America's being crushed on the way out. Yeah. I mean, it's just how China operates. And that's what I think is interesting about the whole Taiwan thing. Why wouldn't they just do to Taiwan or anywhere else what they did to Hong Kong? I mean, they didn't have to invade Hong Kong to take it over. They just did it electorally. They did it with money and influence. I mean, America can push against that for a while, but it's like they're just going to try that until they get tired of trying that, and then they'll just do it militarily. Yeah, at the same time, fuck China. China is... I always want to say offensive things about foreign peoples, but I feel bad about people of that ethnicity. So I'm not calling everyone of an Asian descent bug people, but China's full of bug people that I hate. And I don't want to live like that. And I think it's disgusting. And I think we should impose our moral and cultural superiority over them.
Yeah.
So that's just me.
For a long time, that, America or Western culture still dominates. You don't go to the movie theater seeing the hot new movie out of Beijing. No, it's Hollywood. No matter where you are in the world, there's some blockbuster that came out of the United States' West Coast. I mean, it might have been filmed somewhere else, but it's America, baby.
Yeah.
I just want to chime in. I don't even want our culture, Harrison. Why? I'm ready for some Chinese culture over this shit we've got now.
Well, yeah, it depends on how you define. It depends on how you define culture. I'm talking about the living in a closet, eating bugs just style that they got going on. The whole, run over a kid and keep going type of attitude they got about things. I'm not all about.
Not down.
I've seen too many videos. Yeah, there's a little different attitude to the whole value of human life thing. Yeah. I mean, reading about the suicide nets thing. I mean, everybody knows they had suicide nets. I mean, that story was fucking wild. The whole company was going to commit mass suicide off the roof of the building at one point. All the workers left the floor and went to the roof of the building and were like, we are going to kill ourselves if we don't get Sundays off. I mean, it was insane. Like, yeah, China sucks, dude. China sucks hardcore, and it's obvious why they're being allowed to win right now. It's because the New World Order wants bug people, man. They want people that they can abuse and take advantage of and enslave, and China got that system worked out. So yeah, these things are like obviously independent of stuff like transgender. I mean, they're not independent of it, but it's like you can still be like horrible totalitarians, but also not let drag queen story hour happen. That doesn't make you the good guys. You know what I mean? It's like we could actually have everything. We could have it all. Could absolutely have it all.
We could, but these people are communists, and in their worldview, if you have something, you must have taken it from someone else.
Yeah,
that's why they're so pissed off about the success that the West has managed to build for itself. It's, well, you didn't make that, you didn't create that wealth. That wealth was obviously stolen from someone else. I mean, look how a shithole Haiti is. You guys must have taken something from Haiti. Look how awful Liberia is. Must have taken something from them.
Yeah, that is a lot of it, for sure. Yeah, envy, man. Envy rules the world right now.
So there was one thing that I wanted to get to, because both Ben and I are kind of plugged into this space, and I don't know if we can fully get to it in the 11 minutes that we have left. But the Libertarian National Convention.
Dude, what a joke.
Boy, howdy. What
I'm
a
telling
joke.
you, man. I'm telling you, all of Trump's losses are victories. It's crazy, man. You know, he gets convicted and it's like, wow, suddenly the Republicans wake up and realize what a big deal this is and everybody's on his side. He loses at the Libertarian National Convention. They nominate somebody that nobody in their right mind will vote on, forcing all of their people to vote for Trump whether they like it or not. It's amazing how these things work out. I don't even think it's Trump doing it. I think these things are just meant to be. I'm so glad that he did not get the nomination of the Libertarian Party, and instead they nominated somebody that nobody likes. Nobody likes this guy. You've got leftist morality, but you're a libertarian. Like, people on the left despise libertarians.
Yep.
People on the right despise, transgender drag queens. I mean, so who is this guy going for? It's so silly, man. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, Ben's point was that if you're a Trump person, this was the best nomination that the Libertarians could put forward.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Dude, him saying, vote for me or just keep getting your 3%. It's like, God damn, dude.
When he said that, and
it's over. It's over, dude.
He said, "Vote for me or be happy with your 3%." I think that that Chase Oliver came out and was like, "We can go lower."
Yeah. 3%. Not.
I think his campaign's going to get a lot of dark money, though. If you were with Trump's campaign, you would be finding ways to funnel money to this guy for sure.
Dude, I don't think so, dude. I don't think so. He's not going to win over anybody, I don't think.
But what middle of the road normie who might vote for Trump is going to vote for a gay, millennial, pro-vax?
Pro-mask.
Yeah.
Drag queen tranny time. No, yeah. That would be a smart move on Trump's part, would be to start giving this guy money because he can only hurt Joe Biden.
That's a funny idea. But dude, I don't even think. I mean, they hate libertarians, though. I mean, they, it'd be like somebody running for the Communist Party that had like Trump ideals. We wouldn't care. We'd be like, he's a fucking communist. I don't care if he says he wants a border wall. He's a communist. I'm not going to vote for it. Like, I think that's how they feel about libertarians. So, and again, it kind of sucks. I always make this. This is my main philosophical point I am always trying to get across. And it's what liberty really means and what it is. And like, I am libertarian. I would define myself that way because liberty is the ultimate goal for me. It's different than freedom in my definition, right? It's different than just being out on your own. Liberty requires a civilization. So like, it's what being a citizen means, right? So when, it comes from the Roman, you'd have the liberty of Rome. That meant that the state couldn't oppress you, but it meant that you had if anything happened to you, you had protection of the state. You were under their protection, even when you weren't in Rome, right? You went abroad and those people wouldn't fuck with you because you had the liberty of Rome. You were free to do whatever you wanted, as long as it wasn't out of bounds, but they couldn't arbitrarily or they couldn't violate your rights. You had rights as a Roman citizen that were inviolable even by other people, and Rome would fuck you up if you tried. So like, that's what liberty is. That's what I want. That's what we need. The idea of like libertarianism of like, there should be no state. It just means corporations are going to rule everything. If you can just be free in the woods by yourself in a cabin, but like, that's not liberty. That's not what our country is supposed to be. Our country is supposed to be an organization and a government whose sole purpose is ensuring the freedom of the people involved. So like that, I think if we could come to understand that and get that the, libertarian ideas are just nonsense when you have corporations the size that they are. I mean, we need governments. We need citizens banding together and using collective power to protect our rights from corporations and governments. That's what our government's supposed to be.
I wanted to segue into something similar to this, and I'm just so pissed off we only have like 5 minutes left because I could go on for probably another hour on this alone.
Well,
And
do it again.
It's that, yes, when you have corporations and government coexisting in an antagonistic relationship, that is where freedom and liberty can really flourish.
Yes.
However, what we have going on now is a symbiosis between government and corporations, specifically the media corporations and social media corporations. And in a lot of ways, we're seeing a lot of the libertarian sacred cows being slaughtered on the altar of reality in the last couple of years. And I find it to be very disappointing and very sad. Like open borders. Open borders is a central plank of libertarianism, and we're watching it both here and in Europe proving itself out to be a very, very bad idea.
100%.
Because we exist in a world of nation states, and if you in this geographical location suddenly decide to yourself, okay, we're not a country anymore, we're not a nation, we don't have a border, well, everybody else still is. Stupid, somebody else still is a nation.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to bind yourselves by the arbitrary borders of the nation state, you are going to bind yourselves by some other metric, whether it be ethnicity or religion or geographical location, or something is going to bind you together with other people. And there will always be a scarcity of resources, which means that you are going to go out and look for those resources. And if you have to take them from somebody else, there's going to be
competition. Yeah.
There's going to be competition. Yeah, there's going to be conflict.
Yeah, 100%.
And the unregulated free market. Again, another one of those great ideas that libertarians have that we are seeing falling apart, because like we just go right back to the beginning of the episode when we were sitting here talking about these massive corporations that are willing to sacrifice every last cent that they have to push the message. The message is more important than the bottom line.
Yeah, which is insane that they allowed that to go. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, how did nobody point out that this is a complete realignment of the entire philosophy underpinning our economy? Like, what? Y'all just came up with this, and everyone was just like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, cool. We'll invest on companies based on how many black women they have on their board. Sounds like nothing will go wrong. Like, what the fuck? It's wild. They just got away with doing that shit. But no, you're exactly right. And like, a proper functioning government is a beautiful thing. Like, because it's just, as you pointed out, like if you just degrade humanity back to, just devolve us back to like very, very basics, it's the idea that like, what would happen is it would just break into like clans and families. And so like, if you're a young woman that gets abused, you're like, you better have a father or a brother or a cousin or somebody who's loyal to you who can get retribution or protect you. And the fact that we live in a world where you can just like on a dime, I can just call, and either a team of doctors shows up or a giant truck with the high technology to like put out fires, or dudes I've never met are willing to like risk their own lives to like rush to protect me. That's like amazing. That's like an amazingly beautiful thing that we have that. It's like incredible that we do, because it means that, you're not having to rely. People without families aren't just fucking helpless and, pray to anybody who has a big and powerful family. So like, I don't know, hating the government for being the government is stupid. Being wary of the government is necessary, and protecting against the abuses of government is obviously necessary. But, I'm not about open borders or, letting Amazon run the world. I mean, which is obviously what would happen. And it is happening, obviously, too, but it's not because they're too regulated or whatever.
Yeah. That's a very black-pilled note to leave us on. Yeah.
Some people like Amazon. I don't know.
Yeah, but, to kind of push back on that a little bit, we do have government, we do have regulation, but instead of that antagonistic relationship that we need for liberty to flourish. We're instead seeing a symbiotic relationship, and it's
True.
It's how we get to the point where we break that relationship up and set the scales. That's what we need to find out how to do. That's what we need to do. And I unfortunately do not have the answers.
Well, it definitely has to be about, it is at the end of the day about reducing the size of the government, because like, you know, the things I'm talking about are the police and the fire. You know, this is nothing. This is so cheap, and you know, it's barely anything. Although I want badass infrastructure and stuff too. So I want all that stuff. But then it becomes like, okay, now we have McDonald's outlets inside high schools for the subsidized lunches. You know, like that type of shit is like, all right, we got to go back to basics. I just want to go back to basics. That's my government function.
Yes.
Protect the border, stop criminals. Like, what the fuck? That's it. Like, educate people too to a certain degree, but like, you know, just
Article 1, Section 8 tells us what our federal government is supposed to do, and everything else is supposed to be reserved to the states or the people. And I think that if more people knew what Article 1, Section 8 said, it's like postal roads, ports, money, Army, Navy, and that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the world has changed so much, from like atomic bombs to like cyber shit. You know, obviously you have to have a big government now. I mean, it is necessary. It's just like it's, you know, it's the classic thing. It's like, we have a big government, but also everything fucking sucks. I'd be fine with either. I'd be fine with no government and everything's wild and like out of control. I'm cool with that.
Awesome.
I'd be more okay with a big government if they seem to even pretend to give a shit about the American people. You know, like even if they just pretended, I'd be a little happier. But like, you know, man, if a big, and I talk about it all the time on my show, the idea of like, wow, you have all this surveillance and rampant pedophilia online, huh? So like, what are you doing all that surveillance for? You know, if they were surveilling us and also every pedophile was under arrest, like, okay, cool, surveil us. Like, you got rid of all the pedophiles. Cool trade-off. Like, I would have liked to be discussed about it, but if you're going to spy on me, at least you're rounding up the pedophiles. Instead, they're rounding up us, and the pedophiles are having a great time. So, you know,
it's because the people doing the spying are the people doing the kitty diddling.
That's 100%. 100%.
Okay, so we're a little
joke.
Yeah, not even a joke. Yeah, so we're at 10 o'clock right now, and this has been a blast. I want to do this again, hopefully sooner than a year.
Yes, it will happen. No, it's been great, man. This has been very fun.
Yeah. Since you ended depressing, I'll play us out with something depressing.
I see what it is, and yes, I know it's very sad. But yes, R.I.P. Caller the Kitty. So once again, everybody, my guest tonight was Harrison Smith. He's the host of American Journal on InfoWars. You can catch him from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Time on I watch on Rumble because I can minimize it to the background of my phone and just
I watch on Rumble as well. I watch on the Ron Gibson channel on Rumble. He gets it up the fastest.
Oh, there you go,
dude. Thank you. You got the pitch down pat, man. Hey, next time we do it, we should do it on the day that Simon's on too, so we really get into the nitty gritty, some of these geopolitical things.
I could have pulled him in if you really wanted to talk to him, but yeah, next time we have you on, we will have Simon on as well. So again, thank you to Harrison Smith from InfoWars. Today's episode brought to you by Survival Shield X2 at InfoWarsStore.com.
Exactly.
Which I'm almost out. I need to get another bottle.
I literally just ran out. It's funny because I was thinking like, I won't need the bottle. I literally just today, pulling out of my trash, ran out of Brain Force Ultra, and I was like, should I keep the bottle just in case I want to like pull it up as a prop?
I was gonna bring my X2 down, but I was in a hurry, and I got down here. I was like, shit. But yeah, so
on hand.
Go to Infowars.com. Mad Max MadMaxTV.video
World.tv.
or MadMaxWorld.tv, Band.video.
Yeah,
go to
there
the
you go.
InfoWars Rumble channel to watch him there, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. And you do Sunday Night Live, right?
No, Chase is doing Sunday Night Live these days.
Okay. So Chase will do Sunday Night Live, but go check that out. Anyways, and of course, you can go to Rhodes, the number 2, Liberty.com. That's our website where we have some merch. I designed some of it myself. I'm pretty proud of some of the designs that I made. I mean, you can go ahead and give us a little bit of money. I think we've made a few bucks over there, but make us a few more if you're interested in throwing some shekels our way. So thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. It has been a blast. We talked about a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff left on the table I really wish we could have got to, but time is not infinite, and Harrison is a busy man, I'm sure. Stick around for about 5 minutes, Harrison, if you could. We'll do a quick AAR. And to everybody else out there watching, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and join us next time.
Hey little kitty, oh it's such a pity.